Hello everyone, welcome to the Tech and Auto Show. I'm your host Manav Sinha, and you have just tuned into that one show which satisfies your hunger for both technology as well as automobiles at one place. Now just like every time, there's a lot of action to be covered in this episode. Let's get started by first showing you a glimpse of what you can expect over the course of the next half an hour. This week we'll be talking about the Samsung Galaxy Fold 3, the best foldable phone that money can buy. We'll also take you for the ultimate lifestyle vehicle, the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross, and we'll also tell you our review of the Redmi Note 11T 5G. So yes, all of that will be coming your way. We're going to start off with the world of technology. Now in that world, the latest buzzword is folding smartphones, and Samsung is really putting in all of their efforts in order to be the leader in that segment. Darab got his hands on the Samsung Galaxy Fold 3, and here's what he has to say about it.
Foldable smartphones, something that only existed in concept renders and in people's mind still like 2018, is something that every manufacturer is taking these days. Now, while the business sense of taking up the next smartphone form factor is understandable, how well do foldables actually work? Do they actually provide more productivity over your traditional glass slab smartphones? Or are they just another gimmick that might die down a couple of years down the line? Now, I have been using the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 for the past couple of months, and I will tell you how my experience was using a foldable smartphone for the first time in my life.
Now, the moment I set up my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3, the first feeling was that there is a lot to learn about this device. How to do the optimal multitasking, use multiple windows at once, make use of the S Pen, and much more. Now, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 comes with two beautiful 120Hz displays. One QXGA plus dynamic AMOLED display that folds, and another 6.2-inch 120Hz display on the outside. Samsung's displays are said to be the most color accurate and vivid, and there are no complaints about the picture quality on either of these two as well. Watching content and reading, or even just during your daily usage, the inner display is just brilliant. It's super bright, it's color accurate, it's ultra fast. Even playing games is a pleasing experience as they take up the whole big screen and run on a high frame rate. Yes, the crease is very prominent, but you won't notice it most of the times. However, while taking notes or drawing sometimes, the crease does mess with your flow, which is not nice. The outer display of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is also great and feels more like a smartphone screen with its hard glass, unlike the soft and fragile feel that the inside screen has to offer. Again, the display quality remains as impressive as you'd expect from a flagship level Samsung device with 120Hz display. The aspect ratio on the outside display, however, is something that will take a while to get used to. Of course, since there is no special UI for foldables, the apps automatically take a tallish aspect ratio, which can get annoying at times. Now, while we are at aspect ratios, the inner display of the Galaxy Z Fold 3 also opens some apps with thick borders. This, however, can be fixed from the smartphone settings by putting all apps on a full screen aspect ratio. However, streaming content still does not take the full screen, which is a bit of a bummer because it is a beautiful display.
Now, coming to something that the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 was made for and probably does best, multitasking. The smartphone is an absolute multitasking beast. You can open multiple windows in custom dimensions and have a dock on the side to quickly access all your apps. I can read, take notes, and track my portfolio at the same time while have a small window open in order to check what messages I'm getting on my WhatsApp. The Qualcomm 888 Snapdragon processor with 12GB of RAM handles all these tasks smoothly, and the smartphone doesn't even flinch.
With an S Pen, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is as good as any other Android tablet, with maybe a slightly smaller display. For designers and artists, this is a great device as it gives them the ability to just snap out their pen and start doodling as soon as an idea pops in their heads. Reading on the big screen is also quite pleasing as it gives a very Kindle-like in-hand feeling along with the ability to take notes simultaneously. Open multiple windows, read, research, take notes, track your stock portfolio while keeping a tab on messages and mail, all of this on one screen, along with the ability to connect to a PC and enhance the productivity. The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 was made with productivity in mind. Coming to the camera, it's just what you'd expect from a flagship level Android smartphone. There is a triple rear camera setup with three 12 megapixel shooters. The photos clicked on the rear camera of this smartphone are nice and offer great detail. There are two front cameras, one on the outer display and one under the display of the foldable screen. The front camera on the cover is a 10 megapixel unit and clicks good pictures. Not the best we have seen, but good for your video calls and the occasional selfie. The under display camera, however, is not nice. Of course, it's the first widely successful under display front camera, so kudos for Samsung to achieve that. But given that it's still the first generation of a technology, there is still a lot of work to be done in terms of putting better quality in there. All in all, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is a good camera smartphone, but you won't be buying it for its camera qualities.
So the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 is a good finished product. It does exactly what foldables were promised to do a couple of years back. It puts a tablet-like screen within your pocket with enhanced productivity. Now, to me, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold has proven that foldables do actually provide enhanced productivity that you can't even imagine to get out of your traditional glass slab smartphones. With an S Pen, the Galaxy Z Fold 3 is as good as any other Android tablet in the market, might even be better than some.
Now let's go from a big phone to a big car, and there's hardly anything bigger on the Indian roads than the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross in terms of presence. I got my hands on the car, and here's what I have to say about it. So if you have about 25 lakh rupees lying around and you want to make the ultimate style statement, well, this is pretty much as good as it gets, doesn't it? Yes, this is the 2021 version of the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross. It's now BS6 emission norm compliant, and also it's quite a lot more expensive car. But then again, it looks great, doesn't it? So if you are still planning to figure out whether this is the right car to buy in today's day and age where there are so many SUV options to choose from, well, you've come to the right place. Let's find out the answer to that, shall we? Now let's start off with the design of the car, and yes, I was looking for an excuse to sit here because look at this. This is really cool, isn't it? Now this is what makes the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross, and honestly, this is the differentiating factor, and this is the only car that you can do it in. So it really doesn't matter if it's good or bad or what you feel about it. This is what makes the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross what it is. Cool for those who find it cool, useful for those who find it useful. But other than that, in terms of pure changes for the 2021 model, well, it's the same.
And that's not entirely a bad thing because the car still, at least in my books, looks great, especially in the top spec Z Prestige variant which we were driving. It has a healthy dash of chrome, and things like the LED projector headlamps and the side step complete the look.
Now coming to the cabin of the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross, well, it's a bit of a mixed bag. First and foremost is the way you sit in the car, and it gives you that king of the road feeling. If that is what you're looking for, you'll get that a lot in this cabin. You're seated really high up. The driver's side seat is electronically adjustable. You have fantastic visibility. and the ergonomics are good as well. So it's a good place to sit in. Now, in terms of the build quality is good, but the quality of materials used, well, you might want a little bit more from the cabin. Also, the biggest gripe, this latch, it just doesn't, oh, it opened, but if I close it and then try again, this has always been there even in older models. Isuzu really needs to fix that. But other than that, the cabin scores high in terms of practicality. There's a lot of compartment spaces inside the cabin. You even have a split glove box set up here. You even have these really nice cup holders placed below the AC vents. So it's a good place to be in. However, it's the design that has started to feel a little bit old. For example, the infotainment system, it's a touchscreen unit, but this is decent back in 2015. Today in 2021, this is not acceptable in a car that costs this much. Also, no completely digital instrument cluster or anything of that sort. It's a very basic cabin, and that is something you need to keep in mind.
Thankfully, it does come with features like cruise control and steering mounted audio controls. And the top spec model also gets a rear parking camera, which is extremely helpful for a car this size.
Now here at the back, again, you have a lot of space over here, and the seat is quite comfortable as well. The only thing that you need to note is that you sit a little bit upright because of the loading bay at the back. But overall, it's a comfortable place to be in. Again, it's very simple. There's not a lot going on. You have a couple of cup holders over here. You also have a USB port. You have a drop-down armrest. And the good part is at least you have adjustable headrests. It's a simple and convenient place to be in.
Lastly, coming to the loading bay, as per Isuzu, the deck's loading capacity is 180 kilos, and loading bay's hardcover that you see here on our test car, well, that is an accessory, so keep that in mind.
Now, given how characterful the car looks from the outside, the engine, well, it's not that characterful to be honest. But this is still an Isuzu engine at the end of the day, which means it is going to be extremely reliable in long-term usage. Yes, this may not make the car really fast or something, but it gets the job done.
It is powered by a turbocharged 4-cylinder 1.9-litre engine that makes 163 horsepower and 360 Newton meters of torque. We tested the variant, which gets the 6-speed automatic gearbox, and as mentioned, the entire driving experience isn't exactly fast. The Isuzu loves being driven with a light foot, and while it can haul itself quickly, the engine does get loud inside the cabin at high revs. Thankfully, you can cruise around at low RPM with ease, and at that point the engine noise isn't that high. The car also gets a shift-on-the-fly 4-wheel drive system, which will be extremely helpful for your off-road expeditions. Speaking of which, the Isuzu eats up bad patches of roads without breaking a sweat and has good stability even at highway speeds. However, the leaf spring rear suspension really makes the car feel bouncy if it is just the driver driving it. With a high load, it should be better.
So now it's time to sum up the car, and it's actually very difficult to do that. You see, the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross is a very simple car, and if you want something that's simple and gets the job done, this actually does that well. But you might be wanting left for more given the slew of new SUVs that are coming, which are packed to the brim with features, so it's difficult in that regard. Also, it's difficult to recommend, but it's so easy to fall in love with. And also, it's beyond my understanding why this car is so expensive in India right now and why the new model hasn't come in here yet. But then again, given that this is the only good pickup truck for lifestyle purposes that you can buy with a private number plate, I mean, that's all we get, right? So at the end of the day, I don't know how to sum up this car, but then again, you don't really need me to sum it up, because if you want this car at this point, you already know if you're going for it or not. Now in this episode, we've been talking about all things grand, but if you want a budget, affordable, value for money smartphone, chances are that you're thinking of the Redmi series of phones. Now there's a new Redmi phone called the Note 11T 5G that has been launched, and Abhik is telling you whether it's worth its money.
We are at the end of 2021 and perhaps seeing the last launch from Xiaomi in India for this year. End of last month, the company launched this, the Redmi Note 11T 5G, after launching the Redmi Note 10T 5G nearly 5 months ago. Now both phones look more or less the same, and the new model gets some noticeable upgrades. The cost of the two smartphones are also similar, but there's a new 8GB RAM variant that we are testing today. Since we have spent few days, very limited days with the smartphone, today we are glancing at what the Redmi Note 11T offers and what to expect ahead. As I just mentioned, the Redmi Note 11T 5G and the Redmi Note 10T 5G look more or less the same, and the company calls this the Evolve look. This Evolve look is technically love spelled backwards. Now, the rear panel comes with two cameras, and the front panel retains the centrally aligned hole punch cutout for the single selfie camera. One of my favorite parts of smartphones under the rupees 20,000 mark is that most of them come with a 3.5mm audio jack. There's also the USB Type-C port for charging, and the fingerprint scanner comes integrated into the power button. Overall, the Redmi Note 11T 5G measures the same as the Redmi Note 10T 5G. The plastic back has a matte finish, so you won't get to see fingerprint smudges easily. However, the overall quality of the body may appear to be low grade, but you also get a transparent silicone case in the box. Now, we do get a slightly bigger screen, but with the same full HD plus resolution. The Redmi Note 11T 5G also has 90Hz adaptive refresh rate that can be managed manually via the settings app. The large screen is good for reading and viewing content, and it does offer a decent viewing experience. We also get good colors and decent blacks, but I did notice a strange haze while watching content on Netflix. However, that was not visible while watching content on the YouTube app. It is clear that Xiaomi is banking on the new MediaTek Dimensity 810 SoC that can run heavy games like Asphalt 9 and Garena Free Fire Max with minor stutters. We also ran multiple apps and switched back and forth, and the phone managed to work just fine. Xiaomi also claims that the new Redmi Note 11T 5G is 20% faster than the previous gen model. The phone also gets RAM boosted technology that essentially utilizes idle ROM to offer RAM of up to 3GB, effectively providing 11GB of RAM. It is a clear indication that Xiaomi is trying to rival Realme smartphones in the same price bracket, as their smartphones come with a similar technology as dynamic RAM. We again get the same 5000 mAh battery, but this time with 33 watt pro fast charging support. As promised, the battery lasts for an entire day, and the bundled 33 watt charger powers up the device to full capacity in roughly an hour. Coming to the cameras, we get a 50 megapixel primary camera and an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera at the back. On the front, we get a 16 megapixel sensor for selfies and video calling. Honestly, I'm impressed by the still images that the phone captured, even though they may appear a bit exposed and saturated. I've noticed the same quality in some mid-budget smartphones, so it is up to you to decide whether the Redmi Note 11T 5G is improving its cameras, or whether all smartphone makers are not focusing on their smartphone's camera system. That being said, the Redmi Note 11T 5G's cameras will detect good color even at night, but you may miss out some tiny details that could be disappointing to some users. On the other hand, the videos on both front and back cameras are sheer disappointing, but that is again something I have noticed on several budget and mid-budget smartphones. After all this, the pertinent question remains: what is the purpose of the Redmi Note 11T 5G? Though there is no short answer to this, it is clear that Xiaomi wants to add more 5G enabled devices to its budget portfolio in India by the end of this year. And when it comes to first impressions, the Redmi Note 11T 5G does offer great battery, decent camera performance, but only when it comes to still photography. The screen still requires some kind of refinement and the software experience remains more or less cluttered. But the real money is on the MediaTek Dimensity 810 chipset that can run heavy games and multiple apps with minor stutters. It'll be interesting to see whether the Redmi Note 11T 5G will offer the same performance after a few weeks of usage.
Welcome back. You're watching the Tech and Auto Show, and I'm your host Manav Sinha. Now, it's that time of the year when we talk about air purifiers, but what are the things that you should keep in mind before buying one? Well, the editor of technology, Debashish Sarkar, is taking up next to tell you all about it.
Now we have reached that time of the year when we are forced to talk about air pollution and air purifiers. With schools being forced to shut down due to the poor air quality, the situation is quite concerning in the northern part of the country. But the sad part is there is very little you can do about it. And perhaps the only thing what you can do is buying an air purifier. But hold on to that thought. Will buying an air purifier really help you when the situation outside is pretty bad? Now experts suggest the air quality outside tends to be slightly better than what is inside because there is a lot of agarbattis and cooking that is happening inside your house. So if you're planning to buy a new air purifier, here are some things you must take note of. Let me help you in buying your first air purifier. First things first, consider the size of the room before getting an air purifier. Most air purifiers in the affordable range cater to medium room sizes. So if you have a bigger room, consider getting a higher capacity model. The next thing to do is make sure to research about the type of filter used in an air purifier before getting one. The filter must be able to filter things like pollen, dust, smoke, and other harmful pollutants. There are 4 types of filters that are available in the market: HEPA, charged media, antibacterial, and electrostatic. Along with this, ensure that the air purifier has a pre-filter which can remove pet hair and other large particles from the air purifier at the primary filtration stage. Remember that you need to change the filters regularly to increase the purifier's cleaning capacity. After filters, focus on the air change rate to determine an air purifier's efficiency. Air change rate indicates how many times the air purifier has cleaned the complete room's air in an hour. So if you find an air purifier that claims to have a 5 ACH, that is air change rate per hour rating, this means that it will clean the air every 12 minutes. For efficient air cleaning, go for an air purifier with at least 5 to 6 ACH rating. Don't forget to check CADR rating. CADR rating stands for Clean Air Delivery Rate. This lets you identify how quickly the air purifier functions. It calculates how many cubic feet of air the device can filter in 1 minute. Higher the CADR number, the better the air filtration. Air purifier consists of 3 CADR numbers for dust, pollen, and smoke. If you have a larger operating space, consider going for an air purifier that has a higher CADR rating. Now focus on comfort. Air purifiers can be loud and may disturb your sleep. Focus on the noise levels, as all air purifiers come with a fan and thus are noisy. So go for the ones which create less noise. Any model above 45 to 50 decibels will disturb your sleep during winter nights. Lastly, consider the cost of replacement filters. While buying an air purifier, consider the cost of replacement filters and be sure that the brand has a customer service center in your town. Filters need to be changed periodically in air purifiers. Also, check for after-sales service offered by the company. So there you have it. In today's day and age when air pollution is the most talked about thing in our lives, getting an air purifier seems like the right thing to do. But remember, getting the right kind of air purifier makes all the difference. So remember these points while buying an air purifier.
And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of the Tech and Auto Show. How did you find the show? Let us know by reaching out to us on our Twitter handles. That's about all for today. I'll catch you same time next week, only on CNN News 18.